Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wrestleview Post-Raw number 163. I am Mike Tedesco.
And I am the pregnant person.
You're the pregnant person, Victoria. Victoria is here. Video, of course, is frozen right now, but that's okay. We'll get you caught up in a second there. Oh man. No, I'll go with Victoria. You know, she's all right. There it goes. It just popped back in.
I just saw that, yeah.
See that? All right. We'll
right,
get you there.
We're
good. Get you there. As long as I'm okay to be seen, that's obviously the most important.
What? Seriously?
Oh, I don't know. Let's say hi to everybody. Welcome to Post-Raw number 163. It's the season premiere of Post-Raw as well.
That was a shock to me, honestly, when you're like, oh, it's season premiere tonight. I'm like, oh, it is? Okay.
It's a season premiere. Whatever that means. I didn't notice a discernible finale to last season.
I didn't either, but
they do this every year. It's just like a little ploy just to
get you to watch.
Just to get you to watch, something to tune in for. But they gave you quite a bit on this show tonight. There's a lot to talk about coming out of this show. Actually, the fallout from Extreme Rules, like there really wasn't like a concentration on much of that fallout. I think really the only concentration really was, Bailey, still wanting to, become Raw Women's Champion and attacking Bianca Belair.
Right.
Stuff like maybe Dominic and Ray, but that's been going on for a while. It's not really fallout from.
Right. It's not necessarily a fallout from. Yeah, exactly.
But still a lot of good storyline direction moving forward. We had a couple big returns tonight. We had a title change tonight. We had some nostalgia on the show with D-Generation X. I think we should just dive into it. But first, let's say hello to all of our dear friends in the chat room tonight. All right. So we got our dear friend, of course, Nafis Sadat. The first one that jumps out to me. He was asking me about my computer woes today, and I still got to figure out the Lenovo Legion. I don't know. Maybe I can, maybe it's salvageable, but...
It might be salvageable as a backup.
It just never worked right.
I personally, and again, I'm not like an expert, but I personally think it was one of the situations where it was just defective from the beginning. It's a good brand computer, and if you had a good one, then it would work fine. But it was overheating immediately, and just it would go black. So
it was just blah, very blah, very blah. We have Daniel Schell in the room tonight. We have Mashoon Walls. Hello, Tedesco.
Hello.
OC reunite. Yes, indeed. Yeah, we had the return of Gallows and Anderson. We also had the return of Brock Lesnar. And I had to read through my recap to remember that Gallows and Anderson returned.
Yeah.
Because there was just so much on this show, and there's a lot that happens in 3 hours to have to remember. We got Jamel Watson here with us tonight. We got Randy Torcola. All right. If I miss you, we'll make sure we say hello. Maybe he goes, maybe the salesperson who sold you the machine hated Post-Raw show. It's very possible, but I don't know anybody who really hates our show. I think it's a great show. DX, the AARP old farts revisiting their youth. Indeed. We'll talk about that. There's so much to go over with this show. We should just really start from the top of the show.
I was gonna say from the beginning.
Start from the top of the show. The really big news obviously is Brock Lesnar coming back tonight.
I was shocked. I was like, what?
I was shocked too. And then that shock was quickly tempered by the fact that we have a Saudi Arabia show coming up. That's our next pay-per-view. And, they treat those shows like mini WrestleManias in a sense. And the Saudi Arabia pays a lot of money for these shows. And they have to pull out all the big guns. We had Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg at one point on this show. Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg at one point on that show. We had Goldberg versus Undertaker. They try to pull out some unique big matches. Of course, we're going to have Roman Reigns on versus Logan Paul at this upcoming one, but they need another big match for their show. And it looks like Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley is going to be it. It's again, I think Nafis is right here at this point. Like the Saudi shows are here to stay until 2030 at least. And it is easy money for Brock Lesnar to go out there, hit a couple F5s, some German suplexes, take a bump or two, and fly back to America, or in his case Canada, with 7 figures in his just inserted into his bank account. And it's good for Bobby Lashley, who we've all been waiting now for a little bit for Bobby Lashley to get involved in an angle that's meaningful, especially with the United States title reign. Was actually, I liked the stuff they did in August, with Tommaso Ciampa and guys like that, building up these matches to try to bring some prestige to the title. But Lashley was just sitting around with no feuds. So now he has a feud. He has no title though, because that's on Seth Rollins. But Seth Rollins is constantly used. He's still, one of the best wrestlers in the world, and they're certainly not going to leave him on the sideline. So the United States Championship will de facto be involved in some feuds finally at long last. Interesting though to note, thinking about Tommaso Ciampa real quick, and then also Kevin Owens. It's like there's a couple guys that I haven't seen, used in a bit. Where's Tommaso Ciampa been? Where has Kevin Owens been? They haven't been featured on the show in
I don't know,
in a little bit. It's just an interesting little
observation
that I made. About I was because where was Ciampa during Mrs. birthday celebration tonight? Where was Ciampa at Extreme Rules?
That's actually very true.
Where's Ciampa been when Dexter Lumis has been attacking him these last couple of weeks? It's kind of did they break up Ciampa and Miz? And
that's to my recollection.
Kevin Owens has been getting a huge reaction. Why hasn't he been used lately?
I don't know.
And they also promoted on the show that Elias is coming back, and then they said, "Oh, Kevin Owens isn't going to like that." It's like, wait a minute, are we going back to Kevin Owens and Ezekiel / Elias again? Are we doing that again? That's happening,
right?
Ugh.
Is it possible that, I know they're busy obviously all the time, but is it possible that they're just taking some family time?
That is possible. That is possible. I mean, they're too I mean, they're in their 30s and close to 40. I think Ciampa actually might be in his 40s. Let me look that up real quick. I'm pretty sure. No, he's 37. He's 37. And Kevin Owens is obviously close to that as well. So, and they have families, and it's, I guess it's okay to take some time off, especially if you're not, doing anything, just
I was just curious if that was a possibility, I mean?
Or we haven't seen Kevin Owens since he was on SmackDown at the end of September. I mean, it's only been 10 days, but when you go 2 shows in a row without being used,
it's noticeable.
What's going on there?
It's noticeable for sure.
It is noticeable because Kevin Owens is such a great part of the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, when they mentioned that, Kevin Owens is going to like that fact that Elias is coming back, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll sign up for that all day long. Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, that would be fantastic. But then again, there's also just a lot of stuff going on. I part of the thing why I was kind of okay with Lashley not having a feud for a little bit and just doing some matches to build up the title is because you can't have everybody in a storyline. They want to pick a couple storylines and really, really focus in on them. That's why we get a lot of Damage Control and Bianca Belair. That's why we get a lot of Judgment Day and Mysterio and AJ Styles and things
they're
like
featured focus right now.
That's the feature right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with leaving some things off. Miz and Dexter Lumis, like it or not, is a featured focus of the show.
Yeah. And I think that too, didn't we mention this a while back where there has to be some sort of a rotation, even though it's a 3-hour show on Raw, you still you can't completely over
keep things fresh.
Yeah. So maybe when the whole Ezekiel thing Elias thing happens, then Kevin Owens will come back and then it will be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Maybe he'll even mention it. Elias comes back.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens hasn't been in the show in a while, right? And he'll say, he's like, I haven't been around in a while, and now all of a sudden you come back and I'm back, and they could play into it a and it. So and maybe they'll mention it at some point.
And Randy's making a good point here too, that the roster is getting a little bloated again. For sure it is. And honestly, as a TV fan, I don't mind not seeing everyone every week. Yeah, I think we're still coming off of it's been 40 years of Vince booking television. Like we're used to things, especially like on Raw and SmackDown, of seeing things advance weekly. Maybe not every storyline needs to advance every single week. Now, Dexter Lumis and The Miz hasn't advanced at all, and it's been 2 months, so that might be a little long, but it looks like it's going to start paying off next week. But you don't need to advance every single storyline every single week either.
Right.
Like Ray and Dom is getting a nice, awesome slow build.
I think with that,
it's building the point. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I think with that feud, that deserves a kind of a elongated process because they're doing it very well. But I think when the Miz and Dexter Lumis at this point, it's like you gotta just do it already. You gotta rip the band-aid off, and you gotta get the storyline going, because it's having when it comes to Mysterio and Dominic, it's having a good progression. It's actually evolving like a true story, like a TV show, in my opinion.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But Dexter Lumis and Miz, it's not going. It's just the same stuff over and over again, and
Right.
and ways that he's coming into the ring, he's surprising him, and whatever. And now, about a month and a half ago, he was terrified of him, even though he was in the presence, and he still is.
Well,
but now it just seems like he's a little bit more
Right.
comfortable with the fact that he's in the ring and just
and
doing
the
whatever.
storyline kind of has gone off a cliff a little bit in the fact, in the sense that it was great when they were building up. Dexter Lumis is like this guy that keeps invading the arena, and they have to send security out there for him. And I liked when he was coming in and he grabbed, I forget who he grabbed, but it was like 2-3 weeks into August,
Yeah.
and they had security escort him out. I like that. And then all of a sudden they dropped the security, and then all of a sudden it's just getting goofier, where he's like, his head's coming through the ring, he's in the guy's house, and there's like no follow-up to this stuff. It's just like he's in his house, he kidnaps him,
God only knows what he did to him. Yeah, exactly.
And they even kind of dropped that too, because initially it was like, oh, Miz, what did Dexter Lumis do with you when he took you? And he's like, I don't want to talk about it. Now they don't talk about it at all.
No.
And so it's been just an inconsistent storyline. At this point, I don't even know if I really care about the payoff, but at least we're gonna start getting some type of answers soon. So the Miz is gonna face Dexter Lumis next week on Raw, and I mean, it's totally absurd now to think that he doesn't have a contract. They admitted now he doesn't have a contract. If the Miz wins, then Dexter Lumis disappears forever, and if Dexter Lumis wins, he gets to keep Miz's balls. Like that. That was that was a stipulation. That was a stipulation, and he also gets a contract.
The kidnapper gets a contract.
Kidnapper gets to castrate the guy and get a contract. It's what a stipulation that's gonna be.
Yeah, really. They shouldn't have added that in there. It's like, come on, that's a little far-fetched for me. It really is.
Well, the whole thing's just ridiculous. The whole thing's ridiculous.
And me.
I did like that Road Dogg was the guy that made that match, and Road Dogg used to be the head writer of SmackDown. And Corey Graves goes, he doesn't have the power to do that anymore. And Road Dogg, by the way, for a guy who's coming off a heart attack last year, looks really out of shape. I was actually concerned looking at him. I was like, wow.
What month did he get the heart attack in?
I can't remember. It was a year ago.
But it was over a year ago now.
Yeah. But I remember his wife posted he was in dire straits for a bit, and he came back looking bigger than ever. I was like, my God.
Sad.
Yeah, actually, DX. We'll go get to that at the end of the show. It was nostalgia, but it was it was there. It's just look, they promote DX. They show up and they do their thing. But it's just the law of diminishing returns. It's they're getting older. They're doing things that they were doing when they were in their 20s and early 30s, and it's just wow, this is it's kind of getting sad. I mean, I still like the song, and then I think God, the lead singer of the DX band has been dead for 6-7 years or something like that. Even he's gone. It's
right.
Man, I don't like reminders of my mortality sometimes.
I know.
Because I watch these guys as as a kid and a teenager, and I'm like, oh, well, well, Mike, the hair's getting
Even
a little
when,
thinner.
even when
you're getting a little heavier in the midsection. It's like it's harder to get the weight off, and you're getting kind of old.
even when even when Shawn Michaels said, he's like, if we're doing this still in like 25 years, he's like, just like,
put us out of our misery.
yeah, you know, like, so
Yeah.
I did like the fact that they're kind of,
Well, the one thing I really liked about this DX return, which is very different from what they've normally done, is the fact that they didn't waste some young talent,
yeah,
taking their finishes and shit
they were
like
just
that.
there, and they
They were there. They were there just to do nostalgia.
Yes.
They even called attention to the fact that not many of you in the crowd probably even were alive when we were doing our thing,
right?
and that's okay. Like here we are. We're DX.
It was simply because
poke
it was
fun
a
at the fact
premiere.
that they're old guys too.
Yes.
Road Dogg said
Which
that
I could
they're
appreciate.
de-geriatric X, which I like that.
Yeah.
And again, they didn't like. I think the last time, like one of the big, controversies of like Raw 25, I think it was like, what was that one show? It was the Raw 25, I think it was when they, I think it was like they're at the Manhattan Center and they like destroyed FTR. They destroyed them, and like you have like Scott Hall like laughing at them, and I remember like I think it was Dax Harwood said something like Shawn Michaels was nice to him backstage, and then he was treating him like a jobber. Moments later, like it was just a very bad experience.
Right.
They didn't do that this time. They just partly because Shawn Michaels is now in charge of helping to build up some of these younger talents.
Right.
So again, and there's nothing gained from DX getting over on young talent now because they're not going to wrestle.
No,
Dog doesn't look in any shape to wrestle.
Nor should they.
Triple H has a pacemaker. Shawn Michaels is like wearing a hat all the time because he's completely bald. It's like, X-Pac looks like he can still go. I have to say that X-Pac looks pretty darn good. I'm actually surprised that they haven't brought X-Pac back for even like one nostalgia match. Like Road Dogg has come back and he's even had a WrestleMania match.
Is it possible he doesn't want to do it?
No, I don't think so. X-Pac, he needs the money. He just shows up at these things. It's like X-Pac is exactly who he was when he was the 1, 2, 3 kid. The guy always just like tagging along. It's kind of amazing that he's kept the gimmick alive. He really has.
Good for him.
God bless him. So great. All right. This show kicks off with DX in the back and they're doing their goofy stuff. And Triple H. I love that they had Triple H with the little reading glasses, sitting at the table in Gorilla, where he's like, look, we can't do what we used to do. No talking about our genitals, no cursing, no fighting, and of course they start cursing. They start talking about their genitals. They have 4 rubber ducks, and they say, "Who brought the cocks?" It's like. Got it. It's like whatever. I actually kind of enjoyed it. It wasn't bad at all. It was kind of innocuous, and it was just they really weren't featured that much on the show except for like that final 6 minutes of the show. So that was all right. Goosey, I did like that too. Road Dogg having the crowd say "badass Billy Gunn," Corey Graves being a douche for no reason. I don't think he was. He wasn't being a douche. He was kind of he just said that he's somewhere else, talking about hardware, which is like. He's obviously not going to say "scissor me daddy ass," but he's calling attention to the fact that he's not there and, kind of nodding to what he's doing. I don't think he was. Corey Graves is a douche, but I don't think he was being a douche in that instance.
Corey Graves is a real life douche.
Yeah. By the way, hello Goosey. Sorry. I didn't mean to throw your tweet up there without your comment there without greeting you, of course. We have Roman Reigns and the Bloodline come out. I love what they're doing with these guys.
Me too.
I love it. I didn't think the Logan Paul aspect was extraordinarily effective on Friday. I know you love Logan Paul so much.
He's such a good guy.
But he was trying to build up some dissension there. But the Bloodlines had actually a couple like a couple great segments in the last month, especially since I've been recapping SmackDown. Like I've been watching them a little more. That segment, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago when Sami Zayn became the honorary Uce, is probably one of the most compelling segments that I've seen on WWE television all year. And it's not saying like, of course there's been a lot of drama in the match and stuff like that, but in terms of like segments, that was super compelling. when it looked like Roman Reigns was going to destroy Sami Zayn. They have Jey Uso rip the shirt off, and Sami Zayn's face was just like, he looked crushed. He just like looked completely devastated. And then he hands him the honorary Uso shirt, much to Jey Uso's chagrin, who hates Sami Zayn's ever-loving guts. That to me was like top-notch segment. But this segment right here with Roman Reigns calling Jey Uso out and saying, something that his father said, that the loudest guy in the room is also the weakest in the room. And if you're weak in the bloodline, that just makes you a fool. And he asks Jey Uso, are you a fool? And then to further infuriate Jey and possibly tease some dissension in the bloodline,
within their bloodline,
which has been running wild for the better part of, what is it, a year and a half?
Yeah, I would definitely say over a year and a half now at this point.
Because he was feuding with Jey initially, and then I think it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years, I guess. For that 2 years on the title reign, almost 2 years for the bloodline. That was great. And then telling Jey that he has to now listen to everything Sami Zayn says. So it kind of came back to bite him later on.
What I really like about this,
I just want to say Sami Zayn was so much fun in this segment too. Like when he grabbed the microphone on SmackDown, when Logan Paul tried to do his thing, the crowd popped huge for him. And it even looked like Roman Reigns was trying not to break during that. And again, when he grabbed the microphone tonight, the crowd in Brooklyn loved it. And you can tell it, like, Sami Zayn is enjoying himself. He's killing it in this role. And it's just great to see, because this is a guy who is a great talent, and he's getting a huge moment to shine in a legitimate main event angle. Sorry, you were saying.
No, it's okay. What I really like about this in particular is the fact that with Sami, so with this whole bloodline thing to begin with, it intrigued me from the get-go, because I love when involve like real family and storylines and things like that. Roman Reigns had to kind of evolve into his mic work when he speaks, and again, he's like a better heel just in general. So when they always had Heyman there to kind of do the talking for them, and they were more the muscle, right? Like the Usos were more the muscle, and Roman does talk obviously too, but what Sami brings to the table is a little bit different. It's not just that, like Heyman, when he speaks, he's talking in on behalf of them. Now Sami Zayn is like part of the bloodline, right? And also he brings this like comedic component too,
comic relief.
like it's a different layer to what they're not necessarily capable of. Like I don't necessarily think like, yeah, Roman has like these one-liners so crowds laugh and stuff like that, but like Sami can consistently keep that getting reaction from the crowd and bring that different layer into it. And again, the fact that he's not actually related to them, but they let him into their family.
Right.
So
and they've been doing some fun stuff on social media too. Like they did like some kind of like crawfish cookout, and they insinuated that Sami Zayn was also there, which upset Jey Uso. Like they're inviting him to the family party.
Right. And I think that, they needed another person besides Heyman who can speak on their behalf.
Yes.
Like they couldn't just, and I'm not saying Roman talks very well now, but he didn't used to, but now he speaks very well on the mic, but you need somebody else.
Yeah.
You need somebody else in this faction here.
Yes. In a faction, you kind of need the guy that's the goofy fall guy every now and then. Like they spend so much time being dominant that if you're going to show some cracks, Sami Zayn's like the perfect guy to sacrifice, to have a crack, or like if the bloodline needs to lose on a certain night, like the bloodline hardly ever loses.
Yes.
And they lost on SmackDown. It was Sami that got beat. I believe it was. He was the one that took the pin. And of course, Sami Zayn lost tonight to Matt Riddle. He's the guy that, it adds a different dynamic to it now. So like we've seen them dominate. Now you add Sami Zayn in there to kind of give it some new life.
Yeah, exactly. It just adds a totally different.
And Solo Sikoa, of course, as
it.
well, adding the enforcer gimmick to it. So like they're kind of like a well-rounded, complete stable.
Now. They are. They needed that. They needed just a little extra, just to have it evolve too.
Yeah.
In general,
yeah.
You can't have it like stay like the way it is always. You have to add something to it. He's the perfect addition. Now because I haven't been following up on any Saudi Arabia stuff. So when Roman and Logan are having their match,
Sami Zayn will not be there.
he can't be there.
Not that he can't be. He will not.
No,
he
can't. He's not allowed to.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because his life would be in danger. Oh, right. I forgot. That's still the reality of the Saudi Arabia shows. That somebody's talent could be in danger.
So, is everybody else coming?
I'm sure the Usos will be there. Solo Sikoa, maybe Paul Heyman.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like those guys will be there, but Sami Zayn definitely won't be there.
No, yeah, because he's not allowed to.
I don't think he will be there. They only just in the last like 2 years started letting women wrestle on these shows.
Yeah, so no. I mean, he's not going, but no, I was just curious at that point. Like, I just didn't know if anything had changed with that, but.
Yeah. Now we had this man Stanley Krupinski in the room tonight, and he said, "This is the one thing we didn't mention yet. This is really the thing that started our night, and it's the background noise of the entire show. This announce team sucks. So we have Kevin Patrick, and Corey Graves. It's too early for me to like call judgment on this yet. Kevin, I like Kevin Patrick's passion. I like, sometimes it was a little difficult to understand, what he was saying. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it at all. Actually, I thought, initially I like Kevin Patrick. I think he was like really amped up, and it was kind of hard to again understand everything that he was saying. But the dynamic with him and Corey Graves was actually not bad. I thought for sure, like Corey Graves is going to go into full douche mode and just, try to ride the guy the entire night, but he didn't. He was actually. Corey Graves is the one who was actually kind of keeping everything together. He was acting like a pro in this sense. And I just like a 2-man booth better. I do. It, like the 3-man thing, it was just like, it was hard to get any flow.
I feel like
going
it's
there.
three's a crowd.
I was tired of Byron Saxton. I'm glad that he's backstage now. They experimented with that for so long, and it just never, for me, it never worked. It never worked. He was just like, he was a caricature. But it's going to take a couple weeks for me to like really have like a true opinion about this. I thought the first night though wasn't bad. I actually thought it would, I actually thought it wasn't going to be great. And I saw this video of Kevin Patrick talking with Kathy Kelly, who's back with the company. And he was talking about, how excited he is to be on the show and, to sit and, to sit and commentate on an iconic show such as Monday Night Raw. And I was like, man, this poor guy, he's going to be like in like a month or two, he's probably gonna be wrecked by doing all this stuff. But he held his own. He was pretty darn good. He's pretty darn good.
I can't make a full assessment yet on it either, because I know how Corey Graves works, obviously, right? But I have to see him now, how he works with Kevin Patrick and their chemistry. It wasn't horrible. I think it's going to be taken used to. I think we're so used to, also in general, just having somebody like a Michael Cole who was there for so long, and and just in general with the way that announcing has been in quite some time, even too. Again, going from 3 to 2, it is a difference now, a better difference,
much better.
It's
that in and of itself is a huge win.
But it's still, I think our brains are going to have to kind of like go back to.
It takes a few weeks to like really like kind of see like what's what. Tonight was fine. Tonight really was fine. But I actually am on with Goosey here. I do want to know why they got rid of Jimmy Smith, who they had there for a year and a half, and I thought he was really good. I mean, like we were talking about on the Extreme Rules post show, Adnan Virk. My God, then Jimmy Smith came in and kind of saved the day, because Adnan Virk was nothing short of an absolute dumpster fire.
I have a question. You said was I making this up? Did Jimmy Smith like is he trash talking WWE right now?
I think he was surprised by the termination, and I think that he was kind of lashing out a little bit. He said that I don't even know if it's really a lash out. I mean, like nothing he said was like incorrect. You know, he told the story of you know, he kind of figured they kind of telegraphed that he was going to be fired when he realized that he wouldn't be calling Extreme Rules on Sunday. I'm sorry, on Saturday. I'm still not used to these Saturday
I know,
shows.
right?
Damn it. And you know, then I think it was today he came out and said like, oh, you know, Roman Reigns is just like a big muscle guy. That guy could not fight. He would not do well in a real fight. And whether it's true, like who cares? You know, it's like I think he's not incorrect. I think if you put like Roman Reigns in a boxing, he's not going to do well. You know, or into the octagon. But you know, he goes, that's the WWE way. It's like, yeah, that is the WWE way because it's not real fighting. So that's okay.
Right.
You know, you have real fighters on the show like Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley, you know, Brock Lesnar, like they're legit fighters, and Ronda Rousey, of course, Shayna Baszler. And then you have guys that are wrestlers. And if Roman Reigns was like a skilled fighter, he'd probably be in the UFC, you know, making way more than he is in WWE. And he's making a lot in WWE.
I still think that he can actually hold his own in a fight.
I think you know, like I saw the quote from Jimmy Smith, and I know a lot of people kind of made it you know, made a big deal about it, but I was like, he didn't say anything incorrect.
Well, I mean, listen, to be honest with you, if you're fired and you don't know when you're going to be canned, it's like, come on, you're going to be pissed. So you can't really blame the guy in general, but whatever.
Right. And you have like legitimate, you know, amateur wrestlers as well. You got Dolph Ziggler, Otis, Chad Gable, of course, was, you know, an Olympian. You know, Logan Paul was even a state wrestling champion.
Yeah.
I know you must love that, but and he's also kind of not really a boxer.
Oh my gosh, shut up. Sucks.
Well, Uncle Billy's in the chat room tonight. All right. Let's see. All right. So anyway, after this whole thing with Sami Zayn, you know, he's kind of trying to talk to Jay and calm him down, and Jay
like,
doesn't want to look at him, and Roman's
oh
like,
my God.
That was really, I mean, really, again, getting back to this compelling stuff. Then they sent Matt Riddle out there, who had the big win at Extreme Rules, but again, we talked about how the fight pit was kind of it was kind of disappointing a little bit.
Yes.
You know, Daniel Cormier was just there. He was there and he looked extraordinarily out of shape, which he even called attention to. He's like, well, if I'm going to do this, I better get into shape. You know, he just looked like a guy.
Right.
Like there was nothing to him being in that match. And the finish was very flat. It was just flat, you know, trying to do like a worked, you know, fight / wrestling match was just, I don't know. It's just like the crowd wasn't ready for that. I think.
No.
And they were also sitting on their hands waiting for Bray Wyatt to come back.
Yes, exactly.
So when Riddle came out, it wasn't like, I was expecting like a big pop, and, you know, he was trying to like, you know, be funny with like this, like saying yeet, which I guess is like a bloodline thing. And I don't know. When he came out, the segment kind of dipped a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't it didn't maintain what it had when it was just Sammy and Jey Uso.
No.
And then of course, like then they tease like, oh, you know, Matt Riddle possibly having a world title match, and then it was like, oh, no, we're not going to do that. That's okay. It's the heels, of course, is going to deny it, but it was like, well, don't tease like a better match and then give us Sami Zayn versus Matt Riddle.
Right.
That's like, come on now. But there was enough on this show to make up for that. So overall assessment of the first segment, I would say 3/4 of it was actually pretty interesting and compelling, and tells a really great story for, you know, the next couple months for the bloodline. And then there's Matt Riddle.
I just love this whole thing. I really do.
Good stuff. We had Austin Theory versus Johnny Gargano. This I thought was actually a really good match, and they went hard at each other. They took some big chances. I mean, like that Fisherman's Buster that Theory gave Gargano on the apron looked like it sucked. The suicide dive into the DDT on the floor from Gargano to Theory looked like it sucked. They were crushing each other here, taking some big bumps, and Gargano is the one who comes out victorious in this one with one final beat. I like the story. I like that they're using the NXT storyline to kind of build this up, and I obviously I don't think it's going to be the last time that they fight. But I do want to mention this real quick. First I want to get your thoughts on it. Sorry.
I love them together. I love the real rivalry feel. I can't even speak. Real rivalry feel to this match. And I think this is only the beginning of incorporating stories from NXT and infusing them into the main roster. So that really just I enjoyed so much about it. They're two great wrestlers at the end of the day, and sometimes two great wrestlers in the ring, like either can be like a dumpster fire because they don't necessarily they're not on the same page, but these two were definitely on the same page, and they definitely really connected. So this is a great start to a good feud, continuation of this feud, and I think it's what they both kind of need right now too. While Theory has the Money in the Bank, contract and everything, it's a good kind of way to get him. He's still there. He still has this, contract and stuff, but the briefcase and whatever. But bringing Johnny Gargano back into it kind of distracts from that a little bit. So you're like, oh, okay, they're having this feud going on, but at any point, Austin can really do whatever he wants,
Yeah.
So it's a good story that I think could develop.
Right. So I did want to say this. Grash is asking, hello Grash, if we feel that this match was the blow off the feud. I don't. I actually think they're going to do some more stuff. I don't think Austin Theory is going to take that loss lying down. And Brett's mentioning that Austin Theory has lost a lot of singles match and wonders if they're going to have him lose the briefcase like Otis did. I don't think so. I actually think that because he has the briefcase, it's kind of like, what they were doing, if you held the Intercontinental Championship or the United States title where they, beat the champion all the time because like they didn't care about it. I think, having the Money in the Bank briefcase, sets him up for like, some kind of big main event, something coming up. And it, he can lose a million times. And as soon as like that cash in happens, or even if it's not a cash in, or if it's for one of Roman Reigns' titles or whatever it is, it's going to catapult him immediately into another stratosphere. You're not even going to think about these losses. So you can use some of that, that rub from pinning, from beating the guy that holds the Money in the Bank, contract at this moment.
I actually think it's strategic on their part because you are almost kind of forgetting about him in the sense of like
you're starting to underestimate him. Yeah,
correct, exactly. So he can, and again he really holds the cards. At any point he could still cash it in. So that's why this feud's a good distraction.
Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to mention is that like actually, and funny enough, it has to do with Mr. and Mrs. Gargano here. Johnny Gargano came back, huge reaction. I think he came back in Toronto, and it was a big deal when he came out. And they kind of, he's kind of been thrown right into the fire. They held off on having a match for a few weeks, and he faced Chad Gable. They had a great match. And he's just been kind of like existing, doing his thing. He has the match tonight. They do a thing where Austin Theory puts him in the Gargano escape, which is, stealing the guy's finisher in a sense. And the crowd didn't react to it at all. And then Gargano turns it on him and puts him in the escape, and the crowd didn't react to it at all. And the same thing with like Candace LeRae, like doing her stuff, it's like she went from like, like when she debuted only 3 weeks ago, she got like no reaction coming out. It was like such a surprise. Like I was like, wow, like no one's like amped up about Candace LeRae being here. And then she was doing her stuff, and it's like there really wasn't much like, recognition of like what she does. I think that, it's great to bring some of these people in from NXT that, didn't get a chance and never got a chance to be on the main roster. But I think with the women, there's almost no time to let them establish themselves because the women's roster needs a continuous stream.
Yeah, it does.
You cannot entering into it.
Yes, exactly.
It can't just be Damage Control versus Alexa,
definitely not
Asuka and Bianca Belair, especially because I think Asuka's actually injured.
Yes. Yeah. So no, definitely.
So-
That's not.
So you need
That wouldn't be a good move.
you need an extra person.
Yeah.
And Nikki Ash is like the only.
You always
the
have
only
to have
other
the
heel
wheels
right
going
now.
with them. You
Yeah.
cannot let it.
And Dana Brooks not going to
stagnant.
do it for sure. But so there's almost no time to kind of establish her. But like, you know, from like a presentation aspect, you know, could they do like a tail of the tape every now and then and just or like, you know, a highlight reel where they can they do a highlight reel where they talk about someone's finish and how devastating it is and, you know, what it does and how it, like I would actually, I can't remember if they've ever done something like that, but that would at least help to put over the finishes if you're going to use them in the matches.
Right.
You know, like it would have been great if they had kind of had Gargano, you know, build this finish or at least, you know, have the commentators in the weeks leading up to this match with Theory talk about how devastating that Gargano escape is.
Yeah.
But you know, like there was no reaction to it, and that's in Brooklyn, a wrestling town.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't know. I just thought it was strange, you know, and it's, you know, you get these guys in and it's like they're put right into the fire, which is great, but you know, use some of that WWE production to, you know, fill in the gaps where there are gaps. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to. Well, that's the biggest thing. Even when we said like the commentator, like with the commentary, they were helping in to fill in some of those gaps. But you kind of have to be a little bit more consistent with certain stuff. Like you said, can't just be on commentary that you're relying on, especially for those who aren't listening to the commentary when they're at the shows, right? So when you're physically at the show, you're not getting like that history and that whatever. So you have to maybe again display something for them to be able to connect to, so they know what the hell's going on.
Right. So, you know, like I just noticed that was like one weakness in the match, but other than that, it was pretty darn good. And you know, Gargano is getting over. You know, like he was a big pop on SmackDown.
He's
and stuff like
great.
that.
I mean,
You know,
he's fantastic.
He's doing well.
Yeah.
But it's like those like little gaps that I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. And like you said, they need to
do
do something to fill in those gaps.
Rey Mysterio got his first
Man.
victory since, you know, singles victory since March when he beat The Miz tonight. But I mean, he got immediately destroyed after. But I love Chad Gable, my favorite, just my favorite.
Shoosh, please.
That's Liliana. That is Liliana.
And it's her birthday, everybody.
Today, right this second, right now, on the East Coast at least, it's October 11th. That is Liliana's birthday. She was actually born at 3:54 in the morning.
Yeah,
so it's not really her birthday yet. But her favorite thing to do around the house, and this is not a joke.
Not a joke.
Is to go around saying "shoosh, please." So Chad Gable is just.
He's a fave now.
He's a big favorite.
I mean, he's been a fave beforehand, but
he's been a favorite since, you know, like since they started doing this Alpha Academy
stuff,
absolutely. Like in December. He's amazing. It's so much fun.
Oh my, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. I love it.
3 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
Kid's 3.
I know.
It's kind of amazing. So Rey faces Chad Gable. It's been a long time since Rey Mysterio has gotten a win. And despite the fact that Dominic and Rhea Ripley came out, you know, he still gets the victory, but of course they crushed him afterward. And again, superb, top-notch emoting from the GOAT of all underdogs, Rey Mysterio. This is so interesting. You know, like I get that like Dom isn't the most talented actor on earth, but he's got the heat. People want to see him get his ass kicked.
I know.
They want to see him get destroyed. They boo him when he starts to talk.
Yes.
You know, they try to boo him out of the building because they hate him.
They do.
This is great heat. And it's not even like go away heat. They actually want to see him in the ring getting crushed by his father.
This was exactly what they needed to do with him when he initially came into WWE. You know, obviously it would have been more ideal for him to be in NXT and getting a little bit, you know, more of that seasoning and whatnot. But if you're going to put him into the lion's den here, right? This is what he needed. He needed to have a stable behind him, right? In order to do most of the talking, most of whatever, until he
Mhm.
finds his way of it,
Mhm.
whatever. And having some sort of like feud with his father, you know,
Yeah.
and
You know, it's like at like any point, I'm like expecting Dominic to kind of like slip on a banana peel.
yeah.
This is kind of what I've come to, expect from the way they booked him, and like now he's on like this like major angle on Monday Night Raw, and he's really doing well. Like, but I was convinced. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna go for the 619 on Ray tonight, and I was like, oh, what if he like slips and doesn't grab the rope? I was like,
Right,
oh my god.
right.
But it was just such a great beatdown. And even though Ray hasn't laid a hand on his son yet,
No.
and they're gonna drag this out, kind of like Undertaker didn't want to beat up Kane. I will never lay hands on my blood, like kind of like that. This is the first time Dominic got hit. Ray hits Balor with the head
Yes,
scissor that sends him into
yes.
Dominic by accident.
Right.
Begging his father to hit him, slaps him in the face, knocks him down. Kind of, it looked like he was ripping at the mask.
I know.
I was like, I was really hoping that like like when he joined Judgment Day last month, that one of the first things they would do is present him with a mask and say, like, oh, your father was never going to give you this mask. He was never going to let you have his legacy. Well, we care about you, Dom, and we're going to give you this mask. And I was like, well, because obviously masks sell too, like they're like merchandise, but they didn't do that. I actually think he's going to steal his father's mask.
I think he'll either do that, or they're waiting because they are going to make this a longer process. They're not just going to let this thing be a short storyline whatsoever. So that may even come into play later on. They could do a couple different things. He either steals it, or he comes in like mocking him with his own mask and says like, look how much better I'm giving the Mysterio name, and you're not really like, you're not really like, you're overrated, and and everything else. So it definitely could potentially be something. And it wouldn't matter now if it happened in the beginning or in the middle or towards the end of their feud. It just, there's so many different directions with this.
And they can drag this out for as long as they want. Like I almost don't want to see Rey Mysterio lay a hand on Dominic at all for like another month or 2 or 3. Maybe, because now they have, they did this segment afterwards with AJ Styles coming out and saying like, oh, you're right, Finn. It's all about family. I need my family. And that was the return of the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson. It's almost like now we almost have like a full contingent, AJ Styles, Gallows and Anderson, Rey Mysterio and Edge versus the Judgment Day. I think the Judgment Day would just need to add one more person. Maybe that could be our War Games match.
Maybe.
And I would love how great would that be to have, and now we're just fantasy book and have some fun here, but how great would that be to have Ray and Dominic in War Games, like almost have them start off the match, and Ray still refuses to attack his son.
Yeah.
Now they're in a match together. He won't attack his son, and then eventually, I think at some point in the match, he'll finally snap,
yeah,
and finally do something.
The payoff's going to be great
when he finally does fight back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, the pop is going to be ridiculous.
It is,
and it's like, my god, who would have ever thought? They had kind of teased and done this stuff for like forever, when Vince had the book, and I was like, they had to like kind of, rebuild these guys a little bit, turn them into like something serious, and obviously build up the Judgment Day from being Retribution Junior to a main stable. But like the work that they've done in the last August, September, 3 months is commendable. And I'm sorry, like this is the big difference from, between Vince and a new style of booking, giving these people a chance to, get over, more than just that ridiculous 3-week rule, like, oh, well, they didn't do it in 3 weeks. Now we're just going to crush them, actually build up a viable stable that is, eating up top segments on Monday Night Raw. And some of their segments actually see viewership rise.
Yeah.
This is a really they're a compelling stable now, It's done wonders for young talent, like a Rhea Ripley and a Dominic. Rhea Ripley is finally
Literally finally.
Yes, finally what she was supposed to be.
Yes.
A force.
Yes.
Like a modern day China. And she's really like kind of de facto the leader of this group, the mastermind, the puppet master behind the entire
100%.
And yeah, and Grash is right. Even Damian Priest has really benefited from this. Really benefited from this. I wish he'd stop doing the I'm the bad guy talk, but whatever.
Everybody and anybody who is involved with them in terms of feud in the actual stable itself is benefiting from working with them and working with each other.
Right.
They just did a complete 180. And it was not necessarily like big changes that were made. It was just more realistic changes that were made into what they potentially could have been and allowing them to evolve. There are certain stables and certain tag teams that when you get them together, they're meant to be temporary. They're meant to be like a month, maybe 2 months, 3 months, whatever. But then there's certain things like Judgment Day, you want them to grow, you want them to progress, and you want them to really become something where they become a name. When you think back at it and when they eventually do break up, you're like, wow, remember when the Judgment Day, they were crushing it for all that time and doing whatever. This is what you want. This is exactly what and what you need too.
Right.
Is that constant and is that ways of changing up at things and bringing Dominic in and luring him in and finally getting him to join their side and whatever.
And they kind of have the other thing I really like about the stable too is that they don't just have like one feud going on. It's like Finn Balor and Edge, Finn Balor and AJ Styles, Dominic and Rey Mysterio, Rhea Ripley and Rey Mysterio, and Damian Priest is doing stuff. But like there's multiple branches in the story here.
They each have a part.
And that's why like it's so effective and why they're featured so much is because there's just so many different things going on with this stable.
That's why I said it was important.
That's what makes it so good.
That's why I said it was important for the bloodline to have Sami Zayn now, because you need people who bring something forth the table that the other person doesn't. What one lacks, the other person's strong in, right?
Right.
So you have to do that. And the fact that they're there for each other. So I mean, I would have bet you like money that I would never love this stable, and I do.
Oh,
I loved it, and I love it in conjunction with Rey Mysterio.
Well, I just think about like what this stable was, and it was like, the Ministry of Darkness from Wish, a few months ago with Evil Laughter and Edge sitting on a throne and all this like ridiculousness. And wow, what a turnaround. What a freaking turnaround.
I agree with Chris on this one. If Retribution had the same direction, it could have maybe not to the level of Judgment Day.
No.
But
no. I mean, look, I love Chris. I don't think the pieces were in that stable, even if you really wanted to make it good. I
disagree.
I think the story of the stable could have worked. I don't think they had the talent in it to make it work. Like they kind of got lucky in the fact that Edge kind of did put some good pieces in this group. You have Rhea Ripley, who's has always been since she came up to them, since she debuted in NXT UK, a star in waiting. She's phenomenal. You had Damian Priest, who had a lot of build but no direction, but a solid performer. I mean, you think about the match that he had with Edge in Toronto, and that's what Damian Priest can bring. A big guy that can actually, when they don't have him doing the friggin' springboards and all that bullshit that Vince liked him doing and doing the bow and arrow, he's actually not a bad performer. You have Finn Balor, who's been kind of, who's a great performer and kind of just floating around. Vince had Finn Balor sitting in a dollhouse at one point and smiling. It was the worst thing ever. And of course, Dominic. But, in Retribution, you had Mustafa Ali, who really was great. He is great. But as I don't know. I don't know if that would have worked. And T-Bar, Dominic Dijakovic is limited, very, very limited. You know, I mean, like he was a Triple H guy, and Triple H isn't using him at all. You know, in the 3 months that he's had the book, I don't think Dominic Dijakovic's been on Raw even once. You had Mace, Dio Madden, who stinks, just awful, and then Shane Thorne, who is just milquetoast, bland. Like those weren't the pieces. I don't think that stable was ever truly set up for success. Of course, they were booked like the most dismal booking of them all. That Vince had done. Really, like you could put Retribution right at the top of that list of some of the most dismal booking decisions that he's made in the last couple of years.
I have to again, I'm going to respectfully disagree
okay.
with you and with most of the chat. And this is why. I see what you're saying. You make very good points about the team itself and in which they were. But
right, and CJ mentions Mia Yim and Mercedes Martinez. I didn't even remember that they were in it. Like it just wasn't going to work. It was too eclectic, and if Dijakovic is the best outside of Ali, you're in trouble, because Dijakovic, you know, like they had him be a high flyer, and like if he wasn't facing Keith Lee, you know, in a match, you know, like where they've had some where they can do some really amazing spots, you know, like they could do some really amazing spectacular stunts, but they did not have a good match. You know, like Keith Lee always struggled on transitions. Dominic Dijakovic is just stiff in the ring. It just was never going to work. All right, they want you to be Stephen A. Smith. I want to hear this. You're going to tell me why I'm lugubrious.
I don't even know what that means, to be honest.
No, Stephen A. Smith is he's an ESPN commentator, and he's very articulate and likes to argue like you do. That's what it means.
I don't like to argue.
That's news to me.
Okay.
You love to argue with me.
Yeah, I guess. I don't not really, but no, I'm just saying I feel like I said, everyone's making good points, but here's my thing. If you Triple H has a tendency to, not gonna say tendency, I'm gonna correct what I said here. Triple H has a way of bringing out certain things in people. So whether you thought that those individuals were not like potentially strong enough, and yeah, you're right, Rhea Ripley was a star in the making. Finn Balor, obviously, he was great to begin with too, and all these other different people. But if you think about it with this, Damian Priest was nothing. Okay, yeah, he was muscle, but he was nothing. There were muscles also in Retribution as well. So you can't really argue because, oh, you know, there were stars in the making in with Judgment Day, and Retribution didn't have stars in the making within them too. We never really got to see what everybody was capable of, because they were just kind of dismissed. They were dismissed as quickly as they were brought on, essentially. It was like they started, and then it was like no time was given, and then we just got completely dismissed, and we just put them to the wayside, and was just like, okay, we're not even going to do anything with them. So how could you truly say then? How could you truly assess and say those individuals didn't have that star quality and that star power and anything of potential, when their potential wasn't even tapped into a little bit? So I get what you're saying, but like I said, you argue that with Damian Priest. Damian Priest was nothing. They tried with the Bad Bunny thing. They tried to get him whatever.
They had him doing the wrong thing.
Right. And they have the people doing the wrong thing in Retribution as well.
No.
So what I'm saying is what do you mean no? What does that mean no?
No. I'm telling you, I've seen these guys. They were never going to be good.
You don't really know that.
I know that.
I don't really truly think we do, though. We never really got the potential.
But you know what, though? I was recapping NXT at the time, and I'd seen a lot of Dominic Dijakovic.
Right, and I seen a lot of Damian Priest beforehand too, and
but he always had the potential. Like I knew from NXT that he was capable of being better than what they were doing with him. You know, like again, that's you know, the issue with Damian Priest was there was no path for success with the way that Vince was booking him. There really wasn't. They wanted him to be. I don't even know what they were going for. We
don't know because we really don't know. We don't know the direction it was supposed to go in because we don't.
No, I'm talking about Damian Priest as like a singles character.
Right. That's exactly the point I'm trying to make.
Like every now and then they'd have him come out and it's like, oh, you're Spanish. Go out there and speak in Spanish now. Oh no. Now today you're going to be the big tough guy doing the archery thing. And now today you're going to be the guy that does all the flips. And it was just, he was getting injured doing flips and it was just a mess. It was a mess. But then you think about the matches that he had with Sheamus, that led to him being the United States champion. It was like, okay, maybe this is like what they were building to, and he's going to get to the next level, because now they're going to let him start actually just wrestling and, trying to have good matches rather than just being like, a guy that just squashes people. But it just never worked because of the way Vince was handling it. But in NXT, you realize he could be, not bad. But like I didn't expect him to be this good.
No. And like I said, I just think, I'm not saying, and I'm not saying again, and I said this multiple times throughout the night now too, with the last few minutes, I'm not saying Retribution was going to be no Judgment Day, but all I am saying is that they could have been something where it could have been something.
I will give you that.
They could have been something. And they could have been something. They could have gotten a lot farther under Triple H than they would have gone with than they went with Vince. It was immediately like, okay, here, and then they're gone. Like they didn't care. They didn't give a shit. They didn't care. And
it was dead on arrival. But here's the difference between like Triple H and Vince. Triple H knows these talents. Vince doesn't. Vince just sees like, oh, big guy, and we need a medium-sized guy. That guy, that's what he was doing. And we'll have a small guy be the leader, and get his ass kicked all the time. That's all Vince saw. But I don't think Triple H would have been stupid enough to pair these people up in a stable that would have been lopsidedly skewing to the bad. Like you need to have a solid wrestler in a stable, right? Ali was that guy, but under Vince, he would never have a chance. And even under Triple H, he's not going to have a tiny guy go out there and start whipping everybody's ass. You need to have some big guys that can go. That would be Dijakovic. Dio Madden was never going to be that. I don't think Triple H would have been dumb enough to put them all together in a stable. I think he would have picked some better talent. If they were going to do Retribution.
I think with Retribution, it could have, I think because we have this notion of what it was technically supposed to be. So I again, I have to disagree with you. Yes, maybe Triple H, his idea of Retribution would have been pairing those people individually.
But that's what we're talking about here.
But if he adopted it though, Retribution.
You mean if he inherited Retribution?
Yes,
I think he would have broken them up.
But I still think he would have tried though. And I do think that
we'll never know.
No, we'll never know. But I'm just saying
totally hypothetical.
Triple H has as a way of tapping into people and seeing them for who they are.
Yeah, and I think he would see that this is a ridiculous, terrible idea to put this grouping of people together. I think he would have he probably would have kept the stable and just changed some parts. That's.
I still think you lose your argument a little bit when you talk about Damian Priest. No, I do. I do.
I know I'm being hypocritical about Damian Priest.
No, I'm just saying because listen, I was one of those people. I did not like him. I'm still not. I'm not saying he's not my favorite person in the group. But he's totally done. He's totally changed my mindset of that potential.
Well, because the Vince way of booking him, it's like, my God, like the guy was supposed to get the rub from, being Bad Bunny's partner at WrestleMania last year. And he wound up being like the supporting act that no one even remembered was in the match.
No.
And then the next night he's losing to Miz in his underwear.
Right.
So how the hell are you supposed to get over with that? No. Yeah. Then wrestling Miz in a zombie match where Miz blew out his knee and was gone for 3 months, had to have the first surgery he ever had in his wrestling career. Everything about it was bad. And, even pairing him with Edge, initially I was like, this is going to be a disaster, and I was right because I know how fucking Vince does these things.
You are right, but you're not right.
But under Triple H, it's been better, right?
And that's the point. That's all I'm trying to make.
I'm not arguing that point.
Right. All I'm trying to say is that
I thought we're arguing about Retribution here.
Right. And I'm saying to you, this is the last point I'm going to make on this. Retribution would have been better under Triple H. It not astronomical in Judgment Day, but you can't make that point because individuals in that group you said didn't have the potential. Damian Priest also did not have that potential, and if Damian Priest wasn't in that equation, I would say to you right now, I'd be like, Mike, you're 100% right. Finn Balor, Rhea Ripley, all had that star quality and being with this feud, and they had Edge's, guidance. But when you talk about Damian Priest, he's that one factor in there that just completely negates everything you're saying about what Retribution could be. I'm just saying.
Doesn't negate it.
It does.
Negate?
Because you are being contradictory in saying that,
I never said he sucked at wrestling.
But you didn't. But you said he didn't have that star quality, and he didn't really have that potential.
Not under Vince, because
under Triple H. We're not arguing about that.
I didn't say he didn't have a star quality under Triple H.
But you said
it
right, and the point I'm trying to make is Triple H, not Retribution under Vince. It's talking about Retribution under Triple H. Right.
Damian Priest wasn't in Retribution. What the hell are we talking about here? What are you talking about? No, how does Damian Priest fit into this argument now? I don't understand what the hell's going on.
Because you said under Vince that with Damian Priest he had no potential. The same thing goes.
He didn't have no potential.
Same thing goes for these guys.
No, that's not what I said at all. You're bastardizing what I said here.
Oh man.
I'm
first of all, can we just go back to Raw?
Okay, absolutely. In a minute now. Okay. No, because I'm talking about Dominik Dijakovic, who's a piece of wood that can do a moonsault. Dio Madden, who I'm not even sure knows how to fucking do a suplex. And Damian Priest, who had a horrible mismatched gimmick that was changing weekly. Who could go in the ring? Like anybody who could, if anybody who he's got a good look. I always said he had a good look. The personality just wasn't there. Probably because he didn't know what the hell he was supposed to be doing week in and week out. It was a change constantly, and then they gave up on him.
Right.
What?
Because it was under Vince. That's the whole point. It was under Vince.
Wait, hold on.
But I
don't remember what the hell we're talking about anymore now. What are we talking about here?
I said,
go back to your original argument.
Retribution would have been better under Triple H, and they could have been something because you tap into potential that Triple H sees.
Why are we arguing about Damian Priest, who was not in Retribution?
What I'm saying is, and I'm done. I'm actually done.
Say what you want to say.
No, I already said what I had to say. You're not understanding what I'm saying. So we're done. We're done.
Okay, so your argument is that Retribution would be better under Triple H with the people that they had in it.
Yeah,
Mustafa Ali, T-Bar,
because you
Mace.
weren't more. Nobody was more critical of Damian Priest than you, and you're saying that now. But under Triple H, he's been a lot better.
Yes, he has been a lot better.
Right, so that's the point I'm trying to say.
But he had the raw talent to be good. He had,
and so did those people as well.
No,
yeah,
no. There was a ceiling with Dominik Dijakovic. There was a ceiling with Mace or Mace. Nope. There's a ceiling with Shane Thorne, and there's a ceiling with Mustafa Ali.
Nope.
There's no there. The ceiling wasn't touched by Damian Priest yet. Obviously, I don't think. I just
and I respectfully disagree with you until you turned it out the rails. Like Jesus,
I do not agree. No way.
Okay, and I respectfully disagree with you.
All right,
no issue. Anyway. All right. Anyways, everybody, getting back to the show, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio is
great.
It's great, and that's the end of it.
Is great.
It's great
Under Triple H.
Under Triple H.
Under Triple H.
But we got a big surprise here.
Gallows and Anderson.
Gallows and Anderson coming back.
So actually, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of a controversy, I guess, here you could say, with Carl Anderson. He's holding a title from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I forget what the title. He's the never open weight champion. Look, people are like, oh, you know, Carl Anderson walked out on New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you know he took their title. It's like, well, you know, that's what you get when you have a handshake deal in a friggin' wrestling industry where everybody wants to lock everybody into a contract. You know, he was free and clear of that dumpster fire that's Impact Wrestling. I'm sorry, they just are. Impact just exists just to have content on some BS premium tier network, Access TV or whatever. It's not even available. Like, you have to actually pay extra to see Impact. Who the hell's doing that? You know, it just so happens that they're there. But they finally get free and clear of that. They joined WWE, and well, he's the never open weight champion. That's their problem for not having any direction for the guy, and having, you know, him, you know, having their champion be on another continent with only a handshake deal. I don't see the issue. Just take the title back, have a tournament for a new champion, and learn your lesson next time. You know, like, lock them into a contract. I don't know, but it was great to see Gallows and Anderson back, and I gotta say, Gallows chin beard, like that beard ponytail that he had was impressive. Yeah, it was impressive. WWE's finally rating Impact. There's what talent is there? This weekend.
Oh, here we go.
Impact Wrestling made Bully Ray.
Here we go.
Bully Ray, their number one contender. That they should not exist.
Why are you yelling at me?
I'm not yelling. I'm just yelling at the situation. I'm yelling at the situation. Bully Ray? Are you kidding me? Because he has some freaking show on satellite radio that like a couple people listen to. It's like that's world champion material now. Christ. Oh my God. Are you kidding me?
Oh man.
Are you kidding me? Like they are literally like the definition of like, if a tree falls in the wood, did Impact even really have a pay-per-view? God, they suck. God.
I did.
And God bless Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows for getting the hell out of there. God, the only thing that kept Impact even remotely interesting was having to deal with AEW, and they blew that.
Actually, I think Mike is a little hangry. Mike is a little hangry.
They had freaking Christian as their champion on AEW, and they blew it. They blew it. They have no relationship with AEW now.
Could you calm the hell down?
I'm just saying, I don't know why they exist. I don't know what they're here for. They have Bully Ray as their number one contender.
Can we not talk about Impact, please? I mean, I know it's relevant because of Gallows and Anderson, but just for the love of God,
I'm fired up right now.
I could tell you need a Snickers bar. You're not you when you're hungry.
This is me.
Yeah, actually.
Bayley versus Candace LeRae. I think we already kind of talked about this. We had Byron do thank God, where I want Byron is doing backstage interviews, not on. I
don't want him anywhere, but it's better than him on commentary.
It's a beautiful thing. We had Candace LeRae versus Bayley. They kind of, I liked the commentary here where they talked about, their history on the independent scene and being a tag team like 10 years ago, and how Bayley learned from her. And now the student is now the teacher or whatever. But still, Candace LeRae gets a victory here. What happened?
Everyone's just so funny in the chat. You guys are hysterical. Oh man.
Come on. I have a point about Impact. I do. Don't even try to deny it.
No, that one I will not argue with you on. I will respectfully agree with you on your Impact views.
I I'm right about Impact. Okay, I don't care. You can call me Jim Cornette all you
You're
want.
very
Call me Jim
passionate.
Cornette all you want. I'll take a fucking tennis racket out right now and smash my
Wait,
computer.
there's one right here.
Is there? Give it to me.
You want it? Here.
I want my
hold on.
tennis racket.
Hold on.
Go get my damn tennis racket.
Here.
Oh my god, look at her moving around all pregnant. Jesus.
Get lost.
Oh my god. Give me my tennis racket here, so I can have my gimmick.
Well, it's actually.
Oh, that's a badminton racket. That's okay. It's Liliana's racket here. All right. Impact Wrestling sucks. That's what I have to say about that. Can't believe that that I even have to be asking for codes from Fight TV to freaking recap their shows. It's unbelievable.
All right, now you maybe get up and now. I don't know if I can get back down.
All right. So Candace Larae gets the victory here, but of course, it's like one of those like classic WWE things where the face gets the victory, but then they immediately get killed after. So there's no real benefit to getting the win, but it does get Bianca Belair out there. Bayley beats her up. Obviously, this feud is not over. Actually, I could see Bayley versus Bianca Belair in Saudi Arabia. I think that could be a viable match.
Sorry for them.
Wrestling looking like they were in Avatar, but they'll be wrestling. It is what it is. Okay. I'm exhausted from talking, so I'm gonna let you talk about this next segment here.
Oh, Mrs. Birthday?
Defend
Yes.
this.
So they had Mrs. Birthday was on Saturday. Was that the 11th? Or no, the 8th? It was on. Hold on. When was
what does it matter?
Birthday? It matters.
Oh,
okay?
His birthday was on Saturday.
His birthday was on Saturday.
Yeah. On Extreme Rules.
And Extreme
Rules.
Rules.
He got beat up by Gritty.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty funny.
I love that. So they had a birthday celebration tonight in celebration for The Miz and his 42nd birthday. We start off with Maurice out there, and she is saying how she's talking about her husband and saying how great he is, and she welcomes him out, he comes out, and that she's got gifts for him, and she spent all this money, and she's so excited. And the first few gifts that she gives him, she has a bat that was signed by, who was it signed by again?
I don't know. I forgot.
Yeah. Well, it was by a Cleveland's player, and then mocks the crowd talking about Aaron Judge. As we know, Aaron Judge.
What's the mock? What's the mock? He got 62 home runs. He did it.
Yeah, he did. But he was just, teasing the crowd about, whatever.
Yeah.
And then she gives them that.
I mean, who's gonna boo Miz not getting an Aaron Judge autograph? I'd be happy. Like if I was in Brooklyn, I'd be happy that he didn't get he doesn't deserve an Aaron Judge autograph.
He does not.
He doesn't deserve it.
And then he gets
good.
2 balls to match his big bat. So we're still going with this balls thing. Eventually, one of the other gifts that he gets is none other than Dexter Lumis underneath the table.
It was actually funny.
And but there were still no answers. I kind of thought
it's coming
that
next week.
Is it though?
Yeah, because they're gonna finally have a match.
But I was still gonna get answers. You can have a match and no answers,
that's
right?
True. That's true. I mean,
so I don't know if we're ever really.
Well, Shawn Michaels started finally after like 2 months of this, started laying down some story about freaking Dexter Lumis. Where he's like, with Dexter, sometimes, like he doesn't just target you for no reason. You had to have done something to piss him off. So it's like now the mystery is, what did Miz do to piss him off other than existing? So, we want to know why. So at least they gave you something to look for, because it was a total mystery. Now we know that Miz has upset him.
Oh, great. But that's really all I have to say about this. It wasn't a great segment.
I agree. I agree with this, Mr. Farmer. To me, it is kind of like Hogan in the mirror, but I just want to see it pay off now, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Moving on. I love you, Miz. Happy birthday.
He's the ball thing's got to go. We had Omos crush 2 jobbers. It looks like, I don't know, are they building Omos up for like Bobby Lashley or Braun Strowman?
I think Braun Strowman. Maybe Bobby Lashley at some point, but I would say more.
They already had Bobby Lashley beat
I would
him.
say more Braun Strowman at this point, though. Just personally.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, that would be. I actually liked the match with Braun Strowman and Otis when they did that. So Braun Strowman with big dudes, and doing some impressive slams to them. I can live with that. The apple pie. The apple pie, brother. Botchamania. It's a classic. Let's see. So now we have Bobby Lashley making his way to the ring. He talks about, I'm a fighting champion. He goes, I say it every week that I'm a fighting champion for you. And I'm like, I literally haven't heard him say that every week. It doesn't matter.
Maybe other people have said it about you, but
Lashley says, I've beaten some of the best in the business, like Drew McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Now I have Seth Rollins, who thinks it's okay to sneak up on him and doesn't think he got a fair shot at the title. Brock Lesnar comes out. I really, like, it's hard to surprise me, and that surprised me.
It did too. Because I was kind of like wrapping gifts and watching at the same time. I had to stop. I'm like this with the tape and the paper. I was like, oh, look, it's Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. I was just like, I was looking at the it's like, of course, when I wasn't in Brooklyn, the one time I don't go.
Oh, get over it.
No, it's okay. I don't mind missing the show. They had Brock Lesnar come out, circle the ring. Okay. So one thing that was happening on USA Network tonight, I don't know if this is like a new initiative, but they need to suck it up and deal, because literally the Chucky show came on right after that, and they're dropping F-bombs and saying shit and all different types of language was used in like the first 5 minutes of that show after Raw ended. The crowd was chanting holy shit, and it was holy, and then the audio would just cut out, and it was just like,
I really thought that was a glitch.
I was like, why are they doing that?
I really thought it was like, I'm like, what is going on their television right now? And you're like, no, they're purposely cutting it out. I'm like, that is ridiculous.
Right. So I think they knew that was happening, and Brock Lesnar came out and he goes, well, holy shit.
Good for him.
I like that. I like that. It was I think that was USA Initiative. I don't know if that was a running gag, because it was like it wasn't it was very, very annoying. It was very, very annoying. The safe harbor hours begin at 10 p.m. as CJ saying, but they showed the Bray Wyatt thing at 10, at the 10 o'clock hour, and that was fully censored, with the holy shit chants at Extreme Rules.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know what the hell was just going on there, but it was like, it was so weird. It was just so annoying. My God. It's like, they never do that. And all of a sudden now it's like, oh, now we're going to do that. I'm like, okay.
All right.
But I mean, like, you talk about safe harbor hours, like the Chucky show just had an unbelievable amount of cursing in the first like 5 minutes. I was like, wow, okay. Like, I get it. You're given some liberty to say a couple curse words. It's like, geez, like they really, really leaned into it.
Just
tonight.
because you can say the words doesn't mean you really should every 5 seconds.
Right. It's like, oh no, Chucky's edgy now, I guess. All right. So anyway, he says,
that show sucks, by the way.
He says hello to Brooklyn, and then he says good evening to Bobby Lashley and gives him an F5. Crowd chants one more time, so Lesnar nods, gives him a German suplex and another F5. They want one more F5, but he instead puts him in a Kimura lock and seemingly dislocates his shoulder or whatever that he was supposed to do. And the commentators were riding Lesnar like, why did he do that? Why? So even though Brock Lesnar was massively cheered here, he played to the crowd. Are they going to try to now book him as a heel in this feud?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe.
I guess.
Yeah.
I thought that was a strange choice. I don't mind. I don't mind. Face versus face in Saudi Arabia with just two big dudes just like swinging away at each other.
Surely they should just do that.
Like I rather than like have Brock Lesnar try to be a heel again. It's like he's such an over face. As Cowboy Brock.
Good face too.
Like that was one of the big mistakes that they made. When you really think about it, when they were putting their all into getting Roman Reigns over for like the second time. And Brock Lesnar went from being like the most over guy to like they booked him to the point where people wanted him to go away, that they hated him so much. They had him, have 2-minute matches on house shows just to piss people off and what have you. And it didn't work because Roman still didn't get over. And it took years for them to figure out how to do it. And one of the ways was to turn him heel. But now they got Brock Lesnar back as a face. He's obviously over as a face. He draws big time as a face. People want to cheer the guy. I do believe people want to cheer him. And now it looks like they're going to turn him heel again. I don't agree with that. I think they should do face versus face and move on with it. But it was a big surprise, and obviously it's going to be the Saudi show. So
great, I can't watch it.
But I know I'm going to enjoy the match. I really like the Royal Rumble match, but I want to see them have a match now where there's no like where it's weird because the Royal Rumble match was like, you know, they were just it wasn't like the main story. Like their match with Royal Rumble was to build something else. I'd like to see this be the main story and the main focus. You know, like there's no other thing to build to other than just having a good match.
Yeah.
So good surprise. Really good surprise.
And another big thing coming out of this.
Yeah, another big thing coming out of this is Seth Rollins, who has taped up ribs and probably legit after that Broton off the fight pit. Comes out, taunts Bobby Lashley, who the referees are trying to get him to go to the back because his left arm is dangling and he's in a lot of pain. Saying like, you know, you're supposed to be a fighter. You're supposed to be a champion. You said you're a fighting champion. You're supposed to be a soldier. You're a disgrace to U.S. title and a disgrace to your country. Goading him into getting into the ring. I thought immediately, like, you know, Lashley would get in, Rollins just kick him in the arm and give him a stomp. But,
right.
You know, they gave you a little bit of misdirection here.
Yeah, they did.
You know, the bell rings, he goes for a spear, but Rollins hits the pedigree. I was like, wow, that's it, isn't it? And he covers and Lashley kicks out. Goes to the top rope, hits a frog splash, sells his ribs, covers. Another kick out. I was like, okay, I'm kind of into this.
I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
I'm intrigued.
Lashley hits a spear, goes for a hurt lock, but his arm is too injured. Rollins then finally takes advantage of it and hits 2 stomps to win the United States Championship. So we kind of talked about this already, but you know, this is going to get the United States Championship as a featured title on this show now, with Rollins at least holding it, and Bobby Lashley will be in a main event feud against Brock Lesnar. Everybody wins here. And I don't see an issue here.
Yeah, I thought it was
US
great.
title will finally be a true featured portion
I love
of the
it.
show.
I love
Bobby
it.
Lashley gets to show off his insane strength with Brock Lesnar. It's good stuff.
Win-win.
Win-win. Totally win-win. All right. What else do we have? So we had a Bray Wyatt thing where he just cut in and just said revel in what you are, whatever that means. Matt Riddle versus Sami Zayn. Matt Riddle picks up the victory. This was an okay match, but by this point, after Brock Lesnar came back and a title change, and we had, you know, all that stuff with Rey Mysterio and the Judgment Day and all that drama and the bloodline at the start of the show, Gargano and Austin Theory. By the time they got to Matt Riddle and Sami Zayn, the crowd just wanted to see DX and go home. You know, that's part of the problem of a 3-hour show, is that the crowd was exhausted by this point. This went through 2 commercial breaks. It was a good match, but the lack of crowd reaction kind of hurt it. And
absolutely.
And again, again, it's like, I don't know if it was like a real true lack of crowd reaction or people aren't really buying into Matt Riddle, because that's, you know, he didn't really get much of a reaction coming out in the opening segment. So a lot of questions.
I think it is a lot of questions, and I think it's a lot that we're just going to have to kind of wait and see at this point to see what actually truly is going on, I guess you could say. Right?
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
We did speak about, well, no, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was just going to seg to DX, but
yeah, no, same thing. I was going to say, so we did talk about DX before a little bit, but
yeah. The
think
interesting thing was that they were so short on time, because you know, like
was it like 10:52 or something?
It was 10:54 when they started speaking. I was like,
okay.
Wow,
I was gonna say, I think they started doing the entrance around 10:52.
I thought we had more time on the clock, because I thought, like, you know, Matt Riddle gets the victory, he's going up the ramp, and then all of a sudden, are you ready? And they come out in the tank. I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna go to commercial and come back. The final segment with DX. And then I look at the clock, it's 10:54. I'm like, oh my god. They made their entrance like right then and there and just got in the ring and started doing their shtick. You know, Road Dogg joked about being out of breath. They really didn't have much time to do anything. X-Pac just gave a shout out to China. Road Dogg did his shtick and did the badass Billy, let the crowd do the badass Billy Gunn part, which I thought was nice, you know, to acknowledge Billy Gunn. You know, not, you know, under Vince, they pretend like he didn't exist. So I mean, like, that's a victory for me. And, you know, thank the crowd, throw some glow sticks out there, and just tell everybody to suck it and go home.
Yeah, I honestly, like, that's actually a good retell of what happened. No, yeah, it was cool. It's I enjoyed the fact that they were playing on the fact that they're older. They weren't these people trying to come out and like, oh, we're young and we're whatever. Like, I could appreciate what they did tonight. It was simply for nostalgia, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with nostalgia. Um, and you know why I liked it too?
It works.
I think
it always works.
I actually think like that, like 6 minutes that they had was just enough, because you don't want it to like override the show. I think it was just enough for people to like want to stay and get their fix in nostalgia. But I don't like when nostalgia is heavily relied on a whole show, because it's like you can't do anything with that. They're not feuding with anybody. They were just there just to be there and just make the crowd happy.
Right.
And make fans happy who enjoyed them in the past.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Brett's kind of got like an interesting little comment here about 10 p.m. being the start of the main event, and the rest is like watching a dark match. They used to do that with the pay-per-views.
Did they?
In your house, they would have like, they would do the in your house show, and then there would be a couple matches after, the pay-per-view main event. Like usually you'd have like Undertaker Mankind or something like that. I kind of agree with that. And Randy's saying that, the third hour has been pretty throwaway since football started, but they have had big things happen in the third hour. We've seen, big title matches, with the Usos defending, even though the Usos are going to lose. Cage match. They had Edge return in, at the end of the show. Yeah. So it's not like it's like a total throwaway, but it's just really difficult to get people to watch a 3-hour show the entire way through. It just is.
It's hard.
Football or no football.
We said it again. It's like watching a movie, watching a 2-hour movie, watching a 3-hour movie. It's just, there's a big difference. And when you're watching a 3-hour movie, you're watching it one time. It's a special occasion. It's a special event. But when you watch you watch 2-hour movies. Like you can do that. It's feasible. Right. Your attention span.
And if you watch like a 3-hour movie, it better be good.
It better be good. Yeah. It's got to be like, but you watch it intermittently. You're not watching those 3-hour movies like all the time.
Right.
So
like you have to gear yourself up to like sit for 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Sit and watch everything they do for 3 hours. It's just not possible. But overall, season premiere, whatever that means, it's just a gimmick. It's just a gimmick, obviously.
Yeah.
They loaded the show. They really did. They gave you a lot. They gave you a lot on the show. Brock Lesnar. You have
I hate that thing.
I can't stand it. They have Brock Lesnar, Gallows and Anderson, title change, big angles, loaded show. I can't give the show anything but a thumbs up. Let's ask the chat room.
Was it a loaded baked potato?
It's a loaded baked potato. It's a loaded baked potato. Bacon.
I want a baked potato right
everything.
now.
Cheese. Little scallions.
Does anyone want to send me a baked potato?
She doesn't eat it.
What the hell?
You don't eat a baked potato. You can't eat a baked potato, I thought.
I have a baked potato.
Not a loaded one though. Has like deli meat in it, doesn't it? Like the bacon bits are like kind of deli.
Bacon bait? No, they're cooked.
No. Anyway, so in the chat room, we want to know what you think. To give the show a thumbs up,
and I give the show a thumbs up. By the way.
Oh yeah, thumbs up. Yeah, absolutely, 100% thumbs up. Actually, last time I checked, the Twitter poll was actually like this was like a ridiculously high. Yeah, and it still is. It's got I'll show everybody real quick so you don't think I'm lying to you here. This is the first time sharing a screen here on my new computer.
Oh wow, it's all.
Who cares, right? 95% thumbs up.
Wow, yeah. I'm not shocked though.
People like the show. They like the show. It was good. It was very, very good.
Thanks, Crash.
Shooting Walls gives a thumbs up. Grash says Wendy's has baked potatoes. We like that. Billy Hefner, Uncle Billy says is way up.
Shooting Walls gives thumbs
Ray
up.
Torcola, thumbs up. Victoria A. Smith and Mike Cornette, thumbs up. Could have done without the DX segment, Daniel Shell says.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
Each their own, of course. Yeah, like success. Like Raw has been good for a while. I mean, they've had a couple of like the momentum slowed down a little bit, but this picked things up in a big way. I thought they had a couple shows in September where they kind of lost their way a bit with way too much interference. Hardly any interference in matches tonight. Like I like that. I like that a lot. have more clean finishes. I'm all about clean finishes. Like they had a chance in the Rey Mysterio and Chad Gable match to obviously have Dominic interfere, but they didn't do that. Like I can live with that. Like Candace LeRae beats Bayley without, with no interference. She gets attacked after, but at least we had a finish. So there's positive momentum here, positive direction it's going in. They've regained, after seemingly losing their way for like a week or two. It's been getting a lot better.
It really has.
Grash says this was hands down a great Raw. CJ gives it a 5 Cena smiles out of 5. That's pretty good.
That's a good one. Chris gives it a thumbs up.
Daniel Shaw doesn't like DX. That's why he didn't like it.
There you go.
Brett Farmer, thumbs up. Some of the production, specifically camera errors, needs to be cleaned up, especially now Triple H has had the pencil. Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think we should talk about that.
But I do like that they don't do 100,000 camera cuts, during things. That's not bad. Chris LG, who has a birthday in 2 days, gives it a thumbs up as well.
Happy early birthday.
Randy says, I'll say it again. I think the whole outlook has changed with Triple H in charge. People start the week more hopeful that they'll get mostly good than with Vince. Yeah. Part of it, Vince, like just having the book, it really had jaded people a lot, especially me. I was totally jaded to it, but there's no rose-colored glasses, using hindsight here. It was a miserable,
it was
decade of booking from Vince. And, there's a lot to do we still got to build up new stars. I forget who said on the current roster that they need to build major stars, like Randy Orton and going down and Edge, being part-time hurts the show because there's, they're building the stars now. They're putting in the framework to make it work, but it's going to take time. So we'll see.
Rome wasn't built in a day, people.
It was not, but there's still a lot of sins to atone for. There's still a lot of sins to atone for. And I just don't agree that it's just people hated the product because Vince booked it. Like I hated the product because it was redundant and horrible. And they weren't building stars. They just weren't. But anyway, yes. And Daniel Shell says, I miss Cody Rhodes. I do too. I'm looking forward to his big return, probably at the Rumble. So anyway, we've talked a long time. Again, longer than we thought we were going to do. We have to be up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for our job. And we also have to be that way for our daughter as well, who's celebrating her 3rd birthday today. So everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us for another hour and a half. You did it on Saturday. You did it again today. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next week for Raw again, post-Raw. Follow up. It's all in the follow-up, right?
It's all in the follow-up.
The follow-up to the season premiere. So this will be episode 1 of season 900 of Raw. I'm Mike Tedesco.
I'm Victoria Tedesco.
Have a great week, everybody. Be well.
Bye, everyone.